Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Rose. For all of those that are new here, hi, welcome. In this section, no, in this channel, we are doing book reviews. We're doing subscription box reviews whenever I get those. I am going to try a new one, so just tit for tat. Anyway, but so far in this channel, we have been going over the Crescent City series. So I have already posted the first book. We are now moving on to book 2. We're going to review part 2 first. So if you are new here, again, hi, welcome. If this is something that you would enjoy or that you think you would like, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can get notified of all the future uploads. And if you haven't read book 2, this video is full of all spoilers. I go over people that we've met have met. I go over theories that I might have versus like with what I think is going to happen. And then of course once we get there, half the time Sarah, just totally throws us for a loop, and some things are obvious and some things aren't. So I'm quite excited to see how book 2 ends, since we finished book 1 and that was great. It was an epic ending. So yeah. So we're doing part 2 of book 2. So if you don't want any spoilers, then please save the video for later. Read the books and then come back. If you have read the books and you want to leave any kind of comments down below, please do so. Just don't leave any spoilers. I am trying to read this for the first time and have my own opinion. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this video. Part 2 of Crescent City Book 2 starts off in chapter 25, page 277, and it runs through to page, 529. So quite a few pages in part 2, but it was good. It was so good. So where do we leave off on 1? So, right, so we're still looking for, I'm pronouncing his name Emil. Don't know if that's correct. And we know that a seal shifter was killed and possibly tortured because of Emil. So, part 2 opens up that Theron reports back to, his queen, and she is pissed that the boy has still yet to be found. She hasn't come clear yet with what she wants to do with the boy once he is found, but she's very upset that she has not acquired this particular person. Rune was captured. He was knocked out. Bryce was trying to get to him, but before she could get to him, Agent Daybreak was able to somehow understand his distress, and she basically was screaming at him to wake up in time before the Reapers killed him. So then Bryce got there, grabbed the Star Sword, and killed the Reapers that were holding Rune before Rune could then do some other damage. And then of course we've got Cormac that came in and got some of them out of there. So it was very, I don't understand what the Reapers wanted, and so we're not sure if the Reapers are working for the Underking, because that is part of the Underking's realm, right? So are the Reapers working for the Underking, or does somebody have a couple of Reapers in their pockets? Which is kind of weird, but I don't know. So that's just kind of like something that's there, in your mind. So Bryce decides to call Jessica, since Jessica is part of the house where the Underking is, and she basically wants to get coins to go to the Bone Quarter. And of course Jessica's like, well, You ain't getting them for free. You're gonna have to pay for them this time. And B's like, yeah, whatever. Like, she needs to get questions, and the Underking is where those questions are. So that's where they're being led to, right? The Hind and her Dreadwolves have officially made it to Crescent City, all right? And we were waiting for the Hind to come and make her appearance. But while we were waiting, some of her Dreadwolves were there, and we got to meet one. We got to meet Murdoch. We got to meet Murdoch when Cormac was trying to meet up with a rebel to get some information. All right? And Cormac senses that there's a problem. He goes separate ways from, you know, getting this drop of information, whatever. And Rune and Ethan are stuck down a side alley, like waiting for Cormac to get back. So Rune is hiding both him and Ethan in the shadows. And Ethan gets a glimpse of who this is and goes like white as a ghost. And Rune is like, dude, what's your problem? And Ethan's like, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here, like, now. And Rune's like, okay, you know, you're kind of freaking me out. Like, what the fuck's going on? And Ethan's like, that's Murdoch. And Rune's like, okay, and he's like, he's a bloodhound, so regardless of your shadows, he's gonna fucking find us. We need to get the fuck out of here. Like, we need to go. So they start, like, inching in the shadows down this alleyway, praying that Murdoch doesn't get a big sniff of them. And Cormac still hasn't come back, right? So Murdoch all of a sudden gets a whiff of Rune and is like, I can smell you, Prince. And Rune's like, that's great. I'm not sticking around for you to tell me anymore, right? So, while we're waiting for Murdoch to murder these two, Ethan then tells him that Murdoch is Danica's dad. And it's like, what? Really? Danica's dad. Danica's dad is with the Hind, who used to be part of Sandrel's whatever the fuck it's called. And this is just not coming up now. Okay, alright. So, we have Murdoch, and I've got, like, you know, a little star next to him because I have a feeling this is gonna be the only encounter we have with him. So, yeah. So, we know, so far, Murdoch's Danica's dad. Bryce calls Jessica to get coins to go to the Bone Quarter to talk to the Underking. The Reapers had captured Rune, but B killed the Reapers with the sword. So there's that. So Rune goes to Dad to get answers about the blade, right? Cormac comes back. Cormac finally comes back, right? After Ethan and Rune are creeping. And he drops Rune and Ethan off at a bar, so it doesn't look like they were in the wrong part of town. That maybe maybe Murdoch caught scent of a wrong person, that sort of thing, right? So as Rune and Ethan are sitting there having a drink and trying to calm down their beating hearts, the Hind walks in. The Hind finds them. And then we learn, oh God, it's such a small world. We learn that the Hind is Hypixa's sister. Half-sister. It doesn't really matter. She's Hypixa's half-sister. You know, Hypixa, the queen of the witches. Yeah. Oh, and also, you know, Hypixa helped create all of those dramatic scenes, you know, during the event with the governor and all those, the summit. You know, she took away Rune's thorny. Anyway, you know, like, she's I really still feel like she's a rebel synthesizer. So, yeah. Her half-sister. Yeah. So, now, I will tell you that this book, this second, and maybe it's been the whole book, but it has been jumping around. You know how typically when you start a chapter, you're starting off with one person's point of view, right? Not in this so far, which I'm happy that I'm writing stuff down, because we started off with Rune, Ethan, and Cormac meeting Murdoch, and then we switched to Bryce and Hunt going to the Bone Quarter, but it was all in the same chapter. So I will say that if you are reading this, I don't know who edited this book for SJM, but I really feel like even if it didn't want to have a separate chapter, okay, but just put some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of indication that we are now switching views, right? So it's just a little bit easier to track and grasp your head around with the new concept now that you're walking into. So that you can kind of keep all the storylines that are going off in all these different directions. I know they're all going to converge, right? But until they converge, we want a little bit of help. That's the only thing I'm going to say so far about book 2. All right? So we're at Bone Quarter, where we've got Bryce and Hunt, and they are making their way to see the Underking. Yes. So, basically the Underking is like, yeah, so I don't know what you're talking about. My Reapers weren't there. They had nothing to do with you and Rune. And I haven't released anything. There's nobody here hiding in the Bone Quarter. Not only that, why would I have somebody living amongst the dead? Like, that's dumb. So, that got Bryce and Hunt thinking. And then Hunt's thinking, well, maybe the one brother of Adidas, and his name is escaping me right now, but I'll remember it because I don't have it written down. But maybe he lured them to the Bone Quarter to get them away from whatever else is happening, right? So now they're like, okay, we need to get the fuck off of this. We need to get out of here. Like, we don't belong here. We're not going to find the answers that we want. Like, we need to go, right? And the Underking is like, and what makes you think I'm going to let you leave? So the Underking releases this Hellhound. And the Hellhound obviously can't be killed. So we're kind of like, okay, we need to do something. Now, Rune did give Bryce the Star Sword to take with her, since we do know that it can kill Reapers. So, as a means of self-defense, take it with you, and if you need to use it, at least you'll have it against something that can't be killed, but obviously it can be. So, with that being said, Bryce and Rune are now fighting for their lives. Rune tries to get Bryce to get back to the dock, to get to the boat, so that he can, like, fly out of there once he knows that she's safe. And in the midst of doing all of this and running away, this Hellhound, like, splits in two. And now Hunt's got one, and another goes after Bryce. It was weird. It was cool, but it was weird. Like, it was just a lot to follow. So the whole time we've got, the guy from the Abyss telling Hunt and Bryce they need to come into their power more. Like, they have more than what they're using, and they don't know what they're capable of. They need to train and become more capable, because he wants a worthy opponent when he emerges from the Abyss, right? And the last person to put him there was a Starborn. So Bryce is the only now Starborn as powerful as the one that put him there, from what I'm guessing. So I think he just wants her to become her best self before he possibly emerges and destroys her. Yeah. So anyway, So as we're fighting all of these creatures of the Bone Quarter, Hunt hears Bryce scream and basically goes feral. Like, he's gonna rip everyone and everything apart. So he's trying to find Bryce, and because everything is veiled in like mists and shadows, it's really hard to pinpoint like where her scream came from. Okay. But anyway, so he finally finds her, and he is in front of the Bone Gate, and when he puts his hand on the Bone Gate, it starts drawing his power out. Like, it's sucking his power. And he's like, well, if it sucks power, then maybe I can pull power like Bryce did when she made the drop, right? Because she pulled power from the disc when she put her hand on it. So maybe he can do the same thing. He can pull power from the gate. And it turns out he was, in fact, correct. So, we have mighty thunderous god of lightning pulling power from the source, and he's gonna release it into this hellhound and like blow it to smithereens, right? But as he releases this power, Bryce then jumps in front of it, extends her sword so the sword absorbs the power, and then with her Starborn ability converts the power and shoots it out into like this massive blast of light, and yeah, kills the hellhound. So now they're running from the Underking and hoping that they can get away from him before, he kills them. So we're now going back to Rune, and Ethan and the Hind are in this bar, and Rune asks the Hind, well, where's the Harpy? I don't know who the fuck the Harpy is. Got a big old question mark next to the Harpy. Not sure who he is. So they are in the bar talking and like playing cards. I don't. It's very weird. So once Bryce and Hunt escape, they are finally admitting that there is no time to wait, and they need to formally state that they're together. But they don't want to be called boyfriend and girlfriend because that's too mundane. So they're calling each other mates. Now, mates for shifters is a thing. Mates for fae is a thing. So, and Bryce tries to explain that to Hunt. Like, I don't know how it is with angels being mates, but with, the fae or shifters, like, it's a lifelong commitment. It's nothing that's being taken lightly. Like, if you're going to call someone a mate, that's it. They're yours now for however long they're here on Earth. Yeah. So, we also got to meet a new person. We got to meet Ephraim. That's how I'm pronouncing his name. He's an archangel who is, I want to say betrothed, but it's not like a normal betrothal, to our new archangel of Crescent City. Like, they are going to be a mated pair for a little bit to have another archangel is what I'm getting. I'm not sure. But, so we got to meet Ephraim. Don't know anything about him. Haven't figured him out yet. Like, what his endgame is, other than... I really don't know. I don't even have a theory written down on that one. So, also, Braxton. We'll say Braxton. I don't know where the T just came from. Braxton has been, following Hunt everywhere, but Hunt was supposed to be showing him around. I don't know what he's up to either, but, I just have a question mark, like, what is he doing? Like, he's getting too close, like, dangerously too close, and I'm worried about Bryce and Hunt and the whole crew that's now evolved with this whole rebel thing, and Sophie and Emil. So it's weird. So they're now all back to square one, and Jessica calls Bryce and goes, maybe you should start looking into Danica again. And Bryce is like, really? Like, we're back to this again? Like, how much of my best friend do I still not know? Apparently a lot. She must have been, like, living 3 different lives. Anyway, so Jessica's like, maybe you should go back and take a look at some footage from the gallery. And Bryce is like, okay. So Rune gets Declan and Ethan to start pulling up old footage from the gallery. And they're now starting to, like, shuffle through it all. Like, they went back, I believe it was like 2 years prior to Danica passing away, to try to see if they can get anything whatsoever to point them in some kind of a direction. Okay? So, they did find that Danica draws a book from Jessica's library. She took some photos, and it has to do with, like, the shifters through time. Like, where their bloodlines started from, like, evolution, right? Like, where it branched off, houses, all that lovely stuff. So, we don't know exactly what she was looking for there. Maybe it had to do something with her dad, like Murdoch, or I'm not really sure. Maybe she was trying to just, it's a big question mark. There's a lot of those in part 2. Yeah. Okay. So, when we get back and everything's kind of settled, Rune decides to try to get in touch with Daybreak to let her know that Cormac didn't get the information that he needed because they were interrupted by Murdoch. Okay? So, the banter that Rune and Daybreak have is very, it's so fun. It's flirty. Of course, like, Rune can't help himself. And Day is kind of taken back by, like, his frontness and his inability to not say certain things that could potentially lead him to getting into trouble. Like, you're part of a rebel group trying to keep identities secret so that nobody knows who anyone is in case someone gets tortured, right? And he's just, if anybody has seen Bambi, I feel like he's Twitter-pated. Like, he's got this beautiful girl in front of him that's all burst of flames. And he can't help himself. Can't help himself. Now, I did find this really cute fan art of Night and Day. Because, when he looks at himself, he's of the night sky. And when we see her, she's not of, like, the daylight. But she's the sun, basically. Like, she's a ball of fucking fire. So I love this little depiction that we're getting here between Rune and Daybreak. And obviously it's depicting that something's going to come of it. I kind of had a feeling that it was going to go that way anyway, just because of the banter that they have and the chemistry that's there. It's so strong. So we'll see what it evolves into. But Rune figures out that he can get into people's minds. So, while he was talking to Daybreak, all of a sudden she's like, I've got to go. And before she could kind of put up her wards, Rune was able to see glimpses of her being handled very roughly. Don't know if it was sexual or not, but she was just being handled very roughly. And, Rune tried, like, getting into her mind to see through, like, what she's seeing. And he came up to a wall of, black. Yeah. So I was like, huh. So he's got the same power as Reese does. Like, he can get into people's minds. He might be able to manipulate what people say and do, just like our lovely Shadow Daddy Reese can do. But he hasn't tapped into that power, so he's not really sure like what he's capable of. But we did get a sense that he can at least get to that wall. So if you don't have up your mental wards, then yeah, he can slip inside and see all your dark secrets. So that's something new. So in the midst of all of this, like Bryce, we have Bryce and Hunt are officially a thing, and Rune is around them, and he keeps saying like something to Bryce like, "You smell different. Even Hunt smells different." And the last time we had anything like that was Throne of Glass with Aelin and Rowan, because they were true mates as well. And I mean, once they had their joining, I guess we can call it, once that happened and their scents then mixed together, they were no longer two separate individuals. They both had a mix of each other's scents. So I kind of am getting a feeling that maybe Bryce and Hunt are true mates, even though they're from completely two different races. It just seems like with what Rune's saying, we're treading towards that. So we'll see. Again, it's a theory, but we'll see. So Day comes back to Rune and basically tells him, they were able to get the suits that the Veneer were making. And Cormac confirms that they have a drop location for whatever they recovered from this shipment that they were going to try to intercept. So, they know that there is a cave where the supplies are being smuggled into, and we get a look at this new mech suit. And as Hunt's inspecting it, he realizes that it will enhance any Veneer's ability. So the Hunt suit, or not the Hunt suits, the mech suits back from when Rune was with Shahar, they were for humans, to make the humans a little bit more powerful, because humans have no powers. We have no magic whatsoever. So we're at a very big, large disadvantage. And the mech suits back then were to help the humans. These are to enhance the Veneer's already existing powers. Yeah. So basically what he finds is that these suits will draw power from the ley lines, and they also draw power from the first light that the Veneers have. Like the mech suits can tap into it. So where you normally would experience some kind of a burnout because you've used your power's limits, with these suits it's endless. So that's not good. Like it's not a good look at all. And Hunt is very scared, like, for the future and what it holds for the rebels. Like, he doesn't want the suits to get into the rebels' hands, let alone the Veneer's hands. Like, it's not cool at all. So Hunt goes and destroys everything. And if we reverse a little bit before this happens, I forgot we got to meet Pippa. Psychotic, deranged Pippa. I don't like her. She could die. Like, she's kind of like Sandral. She's human though, from what I gather. So Pippa and her group I guess we can call them. I don't even know what we're going to call them. They brought in this ship, and the crew on the ship were shifters who were rebel synthesizers. Whatever. I know I'm messing up that word, but my brain is like going a mile a minute right now with stuff I need to talk about. So Pippa is... well, we're going to just say that she's racist, even though there's not really like... But there are different races, right? Like we have the shifters, we have humans, we have the archangels, we have the fae, and she doesn't like any of them. She doesn't like any veneer whatsoever. Veneer. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Veneer. I feel like that's, you know, the stuff that you put... Anyway. Oh my god, so off topic. Brain running in multiple directions. Anyway. So Pippa doesn't like anyone other than humans. And her crew kills all of the shifters that help bring in this shipment. And Rune and Bryce and that crew are standing there and they witness all this. And they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, they were here to help. Like, and Pippa's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, they have more power than I do. They don't deserve to live. Like, so she's not... If she's given any source of power whatsoever, it's going to be bad for the rebels. Because, like, if you have any forms of power whatsoever, she's going to end up killing you after she gets her use out of you. And that's just... no. It's not a good look, right? So Rune destroys everything. Because he's just like, yeah... I don't want Pippa to have any of this shit. Like, if that's how she's going to treat the people that are trying to assist with the rebel cause, like, fuck her. She don't need any of this. So he destroys everything because she's a psychopath. And she discriminates against any of the veneer. Whatever. Anyway. So after destroying everything, they try to escape. And Braxton is up on top of the cliffs, like, waving to them to get their attention. Because the Hind and the Dreadwolves are on their way. So they need to get the fuck out of there. So, you know, I had a theory where I thought the Hind could be possibly Agent Daybreak. Still don't know if that's true or not. But I'm still hoping that she is a rebel synthesizer, because that would be pretty cool, where everyone thinks that she's this big badass, but she has an alternative motive. Like, that would be really, really cool. So the crew get on a boat and they're trying to outrun one of these huge ships, and basically they jump in the water because they're torpedoed out of the water. And Bryce is hoping that she can blind the Hind, but in doing so and building her power, she signals for this submarine that comes out of nowhere and picks all of them up. Submarine. A submarine who belongs to the Ocean Queen of the Beneath. Yes. Yes. And this isn't no, like, normal submarine. No. This thing is fucking amazing. So let's get into this part of it, yes? Okay, so the Ocean Queen's tech is amazing, and no one knows about it. Like, no one knows about it. My theory is, could they be helping Sophie and Emil? Like, because the tech is amazing, and I'll get into why it's so amazing in a moment, could they be helping Sophie and Emil, right? So, this submarine is undetectable. It doesn't come up on any kind of sonar or radar. The Ocean Queen's powers, or her magic, conceal everything. So, as they're sinking and going below, the ship that the Hind is on is passing right over top of them and doesn't even know. And this isn't like a small submarine, though. This is like a huge underwater community that floats around. Like, there's different branches. There's people that are living lives down there. There's like a room that's full of food so that anyone that's on the ship can eat. Like, it's ridiculous. And it sounds amazing. Like an underwater hotel that actually moves about, though. It's not stationary, okay? So, that's where my brain went to thinking how this looks. But in the midst of coming down there, because Hunt is so focused on saving Bryce's life, he built up, like, he went so far into his magic that he's at his boiling point. Like, he has to find some way of release, right? And Rune has tried talking to him. Ethan's tried talking to him. And Rune's like, B, he's all yours now. Like, whatever you two have going on, it's on a complete different level. And you're going to be the only one to get him to come down so he doesn't, like, fuck something up on this ship, right? So, so B asks to have a private moment with Hunt. And, yeah, basically they fuck. Now, I will say that out of this whole time that we have been waiting for this to happen, it could have been better. It could have been written better. Like, SJM has written better, spicier scenes than what we finally got with Bryce and Hunt. And I'm like, really? This is it? Like, that's exactly what I have here. Like, could have been spicier. But, I mean, at least we got something. Anyway, so in the midst of doing all of this, and they're getting ready to have this amazing, powerful Bryce teleports them to some other part of the ship. Both butt-ass naked teleport because she's in this euphoria of emotions, right? Yeah. So there's that. So she learns how to teleport without knowing how she teleported. I can't. I just find that it's hysterical. Anyway. So now we're gonna jump back. Yes, we're gonna jump back. If we didn't talk about the astronomer is, I feel like we should have. Maybe I forgot. I don't know. But the astronomer is this weird, kooky person who takes certain people that they want more knowledge than what they'll ever get in their lifetime. And they go into, like, these submersible tanks, and they release their, I'm going to say their souls or something. I don't understand the concept of it, but I'm pretty sure there's a meaning behind it. We haven't figured it out, though, yet. But they get released into the universe to gain answers. Okay? And, Bryce, Hunt, and Ethan went to the astronomer to try to get answers on Emil and Sophie, and they got nowhere. Basically, the one girl who's a shifter, she somehow ended up in the abyss, and whoever oversees the abyss basically took control of her and was talking to Bryce and Hunt. And it was like, it was weird. But he started to, like, kill her from her being there. So Ethan saves her by, like, pulling her out of this tub of stuff. And the only thing that I got like a mental image of was kind of like the Matrix, you know, where they were all, I mean, of course that was totally different because they were trying to be in like a simulator, but you know, they're in that tub of slime stuff. And, you know, everything's hooked into their brain, and so they can, like... And that's what I got. Like, that's where my mental picture went. When we get into the astronomer, and he's got, like, these 3 tubs with these 3 people in it. And he gets answers from them. Like, he gathers information from them. But they basically just stay in this muck and waste away. Like, they don't eat, they don't drink, they don't sleep. Like they just wither away. And it's their choice. Like, they signed up for this. It's weird. So anyway, so Ethan goes back to the astronomer to get more answers about his brother, because that's what we missed. So when Bryce and Hunt were, there was so much stuff happening. When Bryce and Hunt were at the Underking in the Bone Quarter, right? He basically tells Bryce and Hunt that after your soul has been there, right? You've crossed over to the Bone Quarter. And after you are no longer remembered, your soul is then fed to the Bone Gate. And you're turned into First Light again. Like, your soul doesn't live on forever in green pastures. It basically re-dies and gets turned into First Light. So when they were saying that, I was thinking about Coco from Disney, right? How, like, the family members, when they're no longer being honored because their last living relative has now passed away, they then die. Like, if you've never seen Coco, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But if you have, you know what I'm talking about. So, like, that's what I thought about. Like, when he's telling Bryce and Hunt about all this. So, of course, they turn around and they tell Ethan and everybody, like, we need to save the people's souls that are in the Bone Quarter that we know. Somehow, we need to save them so they don't get turned into First Light again. Like, that's bullshit. How are you going to live all of your life to then die, go to the Bone Quarter, and think that you're going to stay and live on forever, but you get turned back into First Light? This video is skipping around everywhere, and I'm sorry. So, Ethan went back to the astronomer to speak to the girl that he saved, and he finds out that she's a wolf. And she's not just any wolf. Like, she has an alpha sense to her. Like, she could have been an amazing, strong shifter, okay? So she wants to bring him back to the pack. And the prime of the shifters reached out to Ethan and told him he doesn't give a shit what Sabian says. You're welcome back to the pack anytime you want to fucking come back here. Like, choosing Bryce, who the prime thought was a true wolf, does not discredit him in any way. And he's going to obviously have a talk to Sabian. So, the shifter refuses to go, like, because she knows that if she does leave with Ethan, the astronomer's going to know who took her, and it's just going to open up a bigger pot. So, what's he do? He steals the fire sprites that the astronomer had as slaves. Yeah. So, the fire spirits are these... Yeah, fire spirits are 3 sisters. And they're just like Lily. You know, they're just these little fire sprites. And the 4th one is like in this shell. And they're trying to break it open to release her. And these 3 sisters are like, no, don't do that. No, well, they release her. And she's not a small little fire sprite like the other 3. No, she is a human-sized shifter. And she's not just any shifter. She's a dragon shifter. Yeah. So now we're going to jump back to the submarine. So the captain of the submarine is called Sendies. She takes Cormac to see Sophie's body. So we learned that Sophie did in fact die. And, you know, when Theron got to where Sophie's body was dumped, she wasn't there. Well, that's because the submarine had gotten her first. So, Sophie's body's there in their morgue. And on her arm, she etched a whole bunch of symbols into her skin. Now, my question is, are they ward marks? Because we know SJM loves ward marks. Could they be ward marks? We don't know. But Cormac is broken. Like, he's emotionally broken. He was holding out hope that Sophie wasn't dead, that she was in fact alive. And, yeah, and now we're kind of struck with this. She did die. So, I have a theory. I don't know if I could be totally off base, but I'm hoping that Sophie is not dead. That somehow she's faking her death to keep a low profile, or that people can stop looking for her. Whatever may be her reason, I'm hoping that she is not dead. Also, when our group was in the cave, pre-destroying all of the supplies, Pippa did advise Cormac that they were no longer after Sophie's brother Emil. Because the suits are better for them than anything Emil could bring to the table. So, you know, basically, they then confront Pippa, well, if you're not after him, then why are you still killing people? And she basically laughs it off, like, why the fuck would I kill anybody? And, yeah, that's where we end. Yeah. So, so a lot of shit, right, went down, and it was, like, all over the place, and it was, like, even my notes are all over the place, because as you're reading and taking everything in, you're skipping from point of views, and you're trying to keep up on them. So as you take notes, you really can't even, like, put them in any kind of chronological order, because you've got a whole bunch of different point of views happening every single chapter. Every chapter has 2 or 3 different people's point of views. So I'm sorry that this seemed to be, like, all over the fucking place. I completely understand. That being said, now that I've seen that is happening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, when I start section 3, when I start this section of the pit, I am going to try to take my notes, and then maybe put, like, whose point of view it's from, so that I can maybe put all of those together. Like, if we have Cormac, for instance, all of his could be together, Ethan's, Hunt's, Bryce's, Rune's, whatever. Like, they can all kind of go in some kind of order, so that it's not like a jumble fuck of different information, right? Because that was just, it was a lot to read, and then it was a lot to, you know, pull from my memory and relive everything. So, but yeah, and I think that might be another, like, another thing that I've been seeing about people that have said about this series, like, besides for that it's slow and you've got so many characters that you are being introduced to, and they're not, it's not like when you read ACOTAR, you know, you had Farah's point of view, and then you had Reese's, and then you might have had Cassian's, and then Nesta, or even with, like, Throne of Glass, like, you had Cole's point of view, and then you had Dorian's, and then you had Selena's, and then you had Aylin's, and Rowan's, and, like, we always have a big group of new characters that we get to meet, that we all fall in love with. But she's not in these books, and I don't, maybe they were written too fast. I'm not sure, but it is a lot of information thrown all together without breaking it up per point of view. So, that being said, I am enjoying it though. Like, they are an enjoyable set of books so far. And I'm excited. And I mean, I'm on part 3 of this book, and once we get past part 3, then we're moving on to book 3. And that's it for my Sarah J. Maas journey for right now, because ACOTAR's already been read, and I've started to reread that just to not have a palate cleanser, but there's just some things that I know I probably didn't pick up on. I'd love to read Throne of Glass again too. Like, that holds a special place in my heart. I love that storyline too. And I think after I get done Crescent City, it's going to hold another special place. But I have so many books on my to-be-read list. Like, I don't have time to reread books that I've already read. So, anywho, I hope you guys liked this review so far. Again, I apologize for it being all over the place. I will try to be better. But with that being said, if you did like it, please, give me a thumbs up down below. Hit the subscribe button if you'd like to be notified of my next upload. And, we'll be back with part 3, hopefully soon. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below as well. I'd love to hear from whoever's watching this. And if it's nobody, that's okay too. I'm having a good time making these videos for anybody that wants to watch them. So, I hope you all have a wonderful night, and I will be back with part 3 of book 2. Bye!